This video is brought to you by azamsharp.school, which is one of the biggest producers of iOS development videos. I mean, just check out this. 16 courses, more than 90 hours of videos, more than 90 hours of content, and it just keeps on increasing. So by the time you're watching these, it might be like 20 courses with 120 hours, all right? And now on Azam Sharp School, I do offer the annual membership, which is $249, and monthly membership, $25 a month. And what's great about these membership options is that once you sign up for these membership, you can access to all 16 courses and check out these amazing courses. Test-driven development in iOS, reactive programming combined, Swift Vapor, server-driven UI, Reality Kit, Swift Data Bootcamp. I mean, it just contains all the things that you need to become an amazing iOS developer. And I keep on adding more courses. So there are more courses that will be added later on. So this is an amazing deal. You can check out the testimonials from our existing students. And this is again one of the largest catalog for iOS development courses. So sign up for either a monthly membership or annual membership and enjoy all of these courses. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get back to the video. There are several APIs that Apple has introduced which already has async and await. This includes URL session, health kit, notification, core data, and even music kit. But what about your own API, the one that you have written? What about the code that is using the completion handlers and callbacks? How would we take that and convert it to async and await? The answer is something called continuation. Let's go ahead and learn more about how we can take our custom code and expose it as an async and await functions. Let's go ahead and try to understand what exactly is continuation and how does it help us when we're working with async and await. The main point of continuation and to use continuation is to expose our existing functions which are using callbacks to use async and await features. This means that when we convert our functions, we can call them easily by using the async await syntax. Now, in this code, the most important part is the await keyword because that is the suspension point of calling the getPost function. So if we had to expose our getPost function as async and await, we can create a brand new function, getPost, which is going to provide us the async await feature by calling our existing function. You can see over here that the with checked continuation, and there are different variations of continuation, is going to allow us to give that suspension point. This is going to suspend the execution and then invoke our getPost function, our old classic legacy getPost function, get all the post, and then resume the suspension by calling continuation.resume. If you don't call resume, then obviously your function is never going to get released from the suspension. So that's the main concept behind continuation. Now let's go ahead and see how we can implement it in Swift. So now that you have learned about continuation, let's go ahead and see that how we can use continuation to create our own or convert our own functions into async and await functions. Now, for this to happen, we need to have some sort of a function that is using a callback or similar mechanism. So we are going to create a function called getPost. Now, please keep in mind that I am using Xcode 13 and it is currently not released, so there is a possibility that it may crash. GetPost function will return us all the posts. This is going to be using the callback mechanism. So we will have a result type and it will return us an array of post. Second argument, we're just going to put network error. This means that it can also throw an error, which will be of type network error. Currently, we don't really have anything called post. So let's go ahead and create a structure called post. This is going to be our model. We're going to make it decodable. And I'm also going to expose a property called title, which will be of type string. There is also no such thing as network error. So I'm going to go ahead and create an enum, which is going to be a network error with a case. And this case can be anything. I'm just going to go ahead and say bad URL, no data, or even decoding error. Great. Now inside the getPost function, we are going to construct a URL. We can use the URL struct, pass in the URL, which is a string URL. If it doesn't work, then we can go ahead and fire completion handler, passing in the failure. And in this case, the network error will be the bad URL. Also, don't forget to call return. Great. Now we can use the URL session.shared.data, passing in the URL. And in the completion handler, we will get back data. We will get back a response. And we will also get back an error. Great. Don't forget to also call resume, or else your request is not going to go through. The data that we're going to get back, we have to make sure that it is unwrapped. And we also have to make sure that the error is nil. If the error is not nil, then we can fire completion handler block and we can say network error, which we can simply go ahead and say no data. Again, we will return from here. We can also update this to just say bad URL instead of typing in the whole network error. Great. Our next step would be to go ahead and convert or decode the data. First, let's go ahead and make our closure escaping, since we are going to be assigning it. Next, we can use JSON decoder.decode, and we can decode to an array of post, that's the type, and we are decoding the data. Decoder needs you to call it with a try because it can blow up. We will eventually get array of post. Great. Once we get the array of post, we can go ahead and call completion handler with success, passing in the array of posts. If that is null, then we can go ahead and pass an empty array. So this will be our function. It's called getPost, and it's going to simply give us all the posts. If you want to check it out and run it, we can definitely do that. Let's go ahead and call getPost. We will get some sort of a completion handler, which will be of type result. We can go ahead and check on the result. Case for success, we will get all the posts hopefully, and I can go ahead and display all the posts. In the case of failure, I will get an error, and I can go ahead and display the error. You can see in the console that it is already displaying all the different posts. Great. So it looks like this is working perfectly fine. Now our next step would be to use the same exact function, which is called getPost, but expose this as an async and await. And this will be done using the new continuation API in iOS 15. So let's go ahead and check it out, how we can use the continuation API in iOS. In the last lecture, we implemented the getPost function, which is using a callback and using the result API to return it back to the caller. This is fine, but what if you want to convert this function into an async and await function? Instead of rewriting this function over and over again, we can create a proxy or a separate function which will call our getPost function and then process the results using the continuation API. Let's go ahead and see how we can accomplish that. I'm going to go ahead and create a function called getPost. This is going to be an async function. It can also throw an error, and it is actually going to return you an array of posts. This is much nicer if you don't have access to the getPost function. This basically means that you don't have the opportunity to change the code. Maybe this belongs to a third party or a vendor or some other part where you cannot get direct access to getPost. Then you can create a separate function getPost, which will be an async function. The async function will eventually going to return you an array of posts. But this is going to be using the continuation API. There are many different ways of using continuation API. You can see over here, if I go ahead and type with continuation, you can have many different overloads. There is with checked continuation, with unsafe continuation, with checked continuation that will never fail, with unsafe throwing continuation. I'm going to use with check throwing continuation, which allows me to get the type as well as allow me to throw an error. I'm going to get access to continuation. The continuation has to be called or has to be awaited for. And since this can actually throw an error, we're going to use try also. Inside the continuation, we can call our function, which is getPost. That's the function that takes in the callback, the result. We can perform a switch on the result. It will have two different cases. First case will be success. We will get the post. We will do something over here. Let's say that we want to print the post right now. And the other case will be the failure. Maybe something bad happened. And then we will print out the error. Well, we're not really done yet. The with check continuation is actually a callback that inside this callback, we are going to call another function, which are our custom function. And in order to resume the continuation, we have to call one of the functions. Now, one of those functions of continuation, let's first go ahead and rename this to continuation. There we go. Now, in order to process this request, we can resume or we can throw. You can see that if I'm resuming, then it is going to return us an array of posts, which is exactly what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and resume it by returning an array of posts. If we want to throw an error, we can say resume by throwing an error, and we can simply throw an error. And there you have it. We have now converted and allowed the caller to call the getPost function, which is going to call our internal getPost function, the old function, which was using the callback to get us a result. If you were doing this inside a class, you can go ahead and make your getPost function, if you have access to it, to private. But we are assuming that you don't really have access to the getPost function because maybe it is exposed by third party and you cannot really change it. Now let's go ahead and see how we can fire getPost. If I go over here and simply call getPost, the one with the async, I can try to do an await. I will also make sure that I am inside the async closure. Since the getPost function can throw an error, we're going to call it with try. I'm also going to make sure that I'm wrapping this inside a do block so that if it throws an exception, we can catch it and we can print it out. This is going to return us some sort of a result. Let's go ahead and see what's going on over here. And let's go ahead and move the value. Let post equals to something, and we will do post. There we go. So you can see that we are able to get all the different posts just like before, but this time we use the continuation API to perform the request, which is async and await. We converted our old function, which is getPost, by not really changing the code of the existing function, but we exposed a new function called getPost, which called the old function. The old function returned you using the callbacks, and the continuation was the one that was saying, okay, go ahead and resume it, meaning that it was waiting for the thread so that now the thread is no longer suspended. It has been resumed. Make sure that you are calling resume by either passing in the post or throwing an error. If you do resume multiple times, then it can create some really different kind of weird kind of results or unexpected results. So this is your continuation API, which can be used to call your classic callback functions, but in a more async await fashion.